As far as fishing goes, for a livelihood, my take on that is really simple. I loved fishing. I started out when I was a kid, going to the pond, and it grew from there. That was never enough, and it grew into me owning my own commercial fishing boat. This day and age, if you enjoy your job and you make a living at it, life is good, right? Life is really good. And I really struggle. Right now, I'm still clinging on to the fishing industry through working with other guys and working on other boats. And, I'm not going to let go of that. I'm going to leave claw marks on it when I do. But the reality is I may be forced out of it eventually when there's just not enough boats to even keep guys like me with, a great deal of experience working.
I have been fishing since 1971. Just about 40 years now. I came here out of college on a summer job. I started fishing in Gloucester in '71, and I fished in a lot of different places. I was on deck for 13 years. I learned my trade from the bottom up. Engineer, cook, deckhand, and mate, finally skipper. And I own a fishing boat, Lady Jane. It's my third and last boat that I've owned. And I'm in the survival mode, business-wise.
Why this catch share program might be good for the fish population is simple. It's set up to stop fishing when a certain number of fish get caught. That may seem obvious to someone who's not in fishing, but in New England that hasn't been the case for virtually all the time I've been involved. People would run past their target limits every year, and again, the result of that was that fish went down and economic activity went down.
In my opinion, the catch share policy is not a necessity by any means. It is a means to an end. Unfortunately, the way it was brought upon us and by the allocation system that it contained, it's turned out to be the ultimate vehicle of consolidation and has driven, well, actually we lost in 1 year, out of the 92 boats in the Gloucester Harbor, we lost 26 to the groundfish trade are gone, out of business, no longer go ground fishing. And that's going to continue and get worse as we go along here.
The argument for moving to catch shares, was simply that, it's going to end overfishing, and, it's going to make things better. Well, in both cases, it's proven to be inaccurate. It hasn't ended overfishing. Just look at the most recent, this year, they're talking about we need almost a 90% reduction in cod landings. This was all done under the, system that was supposed to end all this mess. We lost about, I think the rough numbers are, 60%, 60 or 70% of the jobs in the fishing industry, the fishing industry related jobs are gone now because of the consolidation that happens under catch shares. The switch to catch shares, for me, was pretty much an end game. Without having that capital to invest in, purchasing enough quota to simply run the business, to maintain operating costs, you're forced to. Again, in any quota system puts guys in the same position. Either get big or get the hell out.
Well, I think it's been true in most fisheries around the world that the majority of fishermen don't catch the majority of fish. There's very often what they call an 80-20 rule, where 20% of the fishermen catch 80% of the fish in any fishery, and 80% of the fishermen, who are the small boats, typically catch 20%. So my experience is that the small boats tend to get crowded out of the fishery and pushed out by the big guys. We think that's wrong. We think there's plenty of fish for both groups, and that the smaller boats are really much more modest in what their interest is in catching fish. So that's something that has to be engineered. The open market would not allow small fishermen to survive in fishing any more than it does anywhere else. Mom and pop drugstores get pushed out by Walmarts. It just goes on and on.
There's a lot of ambivalence in fisheries about catch shares. Myself, I'm probably the best example. There are certain aspects of catch shares that I really like. I really enjoy. I enjoy the freedom of being able to go out and target fish when the time is right, when the situation's right, hopefully when the prices are right. That part of it's fine. But catch shares is definitely a job-killing system. There are no two ways about it. There's no way it can be said any better or any differently. And so no fisherman that's left standing can say that they enjoy that part of it.
We have, the conservation groups, myself, have a very different interest in this debate than the fishermen do. When we don't get our way, we continue to get paid. Life goes on. We'll be back for another day. When the fishermen lose the argument, very often some of them are out of business. And so the stakes for people in the fishing community are in a very real way different than the stakes we have. That's just the way it is. We're coming at this from very different angles with different emotions and different things at risk. And so it's not surprising to me that things frequently get very heated.
It already has. It's hurt a lot of families. It's really hurt a lot of families. Myself, I went to, being a father, with 3 kids, and one of them in college, and my son is 15. He's in his 2nd year of high school, so he's well underway. It's devastated our family. Sure, some of the money from the sale of my quota got my daughter through those first 2 years of college. But that money's gone. Now, we're contemplating, selling the house. And then where do you go? You've sold the business aspects. You're selling the house now to survive. You've reduced a guy like me, a family of 5 who, we weren't making a killing, but we were making a living, 45, 50 grand a year. Literally my income has dropped to under $20,000 a year under catch shares. So what's the longer term? But, then you have to go, well, why doesn't that guy just get another job? Let's look at the reality. I've been fishing since I was 11 years old. I got a high school diploma. Where do I put that in the corporate world on a resume? I can take a boat out in any kind of weather, catch fish, get the boat up and running, bring the boat home safely, even make it through disastrous consequences and get myself and all the people off of, what does that qualify me to do on shore? Bag groceries, maybe work as a janitor cleaning toilets?
With fishermen, no one wants to let go. They love their jobs. This is what they do. They don't know anything else, really. Quite literally, some people. This is what they've done since they were 15 or 16. And they're really good at it, and they really get angry that they're not able to stay in that line of work. There's an expression, without fish, there's no fisherman. And that's something that we pay attention to. And our long-term objective is to have a healthy fish population, a clean ocean, and a bunch of happy fishermen who are able to make a predictable living at sea.
I've had different pressures from my wife, from my parents, God rest their soul, different people. Why are you fishing? Why don't you stop fishing? Why don't you go back to school? Why don't you be a lawyer? Why don't you be a writer? Why don't you... No, this is what I like to do, and it's what I'm going to do forever. There's just so much to it as far as navigation and the sights you see. I mean, who can replace those? I mean, who can replace a beautiful sunrise or just a deck load of fish? I mean, it's just, they're beautiful things. Fishing, something different happens every day. Sometimes it's not always good, but it's different. Used to be the freest way in the world for a person to make his life. It used to be the freest way you could. It was great. But things have a habit of changing, What a beautiful night, huh? Isn't it pretty? See, I mean, you know, out on the water, like, sometimes you see the most beautiful things you could ever imagine. You know, and I'm no artistic kind of guy, believe me. You know, I'm more of a brute than I am anything else, I guess, but God, sometimes it just strikes a little poetry in you, you know? It's just beautiful. The future of fishing, should be a positive thing. I mean, it should be robust. The stocks are on their way back. Don't forget, the United States has the most regulated fisheries in the world. We have the most abundant source of fish in the world. We've done the most to bring our populations back, and it bodes very well for the future. But the politics of fishing have become every bit as important as the basic logistics and physical act of going out and catching the little devils. And that has become a very, very stressful thing. But I hope for the best. I hope for the future. I hope for it. I haven't got much hope. Things go on the way they are, Molly. I don't have much hope at all.